All right, get ready to dive into a career that's all about sunshine, smiles, and keeping those vacation vibes sky high. We're talking tourist animators today. And you've sent us some really intriguing stuff on this, so it seems like you're digging for more than just a peek behind the curtain.
And you are definitely in the right place for that. We're going way deeper than your average job description here. You want the inside scoop, the real deal on what it takes to not just survive, but thrive in this role,
Right.
right? The nitty-gritty, the unexpected, and how to even get your foot in the door with all this AI recruitment going on these days.
You're reading my mind. We've got insights from RoleCatcher, some career guides, even potential interview questions all lined up. So listeners, get ready because this deep dive is giving you the inside track on becoming a tourist animator.
Because let's be real, it's not all poolside games and limbo contests. Okay, maybe it is sometimes, but there's a whole lot more to it than that. Let's start with how RoleCatcher describes it. They paint a picture of tourist animators as, like, the architects of fun, the ones who craft those unforgettable vacation memories for people. But what does that actually mean day to day?
That's the thing, right? You find a job description online that makes it sound amazing, but then you start to imagine the reality. Like what happens when the sound system crashes in the middle of the karaoke competition you've been promoting all week? I'm betting being able to think on your feet is just as important as creativity in this job.
Oh, 100%. You've got to be ready for anything. It's almost like conducting an orchestra, but instead of instruments, you're orchestrating all these different activities for a huge mix of people, all with different expectations. Think about it. You need to keep little kids entertained while making sure their grandparents are having a good time too, and they probably want something a bit more low-key.
Okay, that's a hilarious image. Trying to wrangle toddlers while simultaneously organizing a shuffleboard tournament. Talk about needing to read the room. Or I guess I should say read the pool deck in this case.
Exactly. And you have to do all that while keeping up that upbeat, energetic personality. Even if, you're running on fumes because you haven't had your coffee yet.
Yeah.
And the beach volleyball tournament you planned so carefully is about to get rained out. RoleCatcher doesn't sugarcoat it. This is a fast-paced, high-energy environment, especially when it's peak season and everyone's on vacation expecting to have the best time.
And speaking of high energy, let's talk locations. I'm picturing idyllic beaches, maybe a luxurious cruise ship gliding through the Greek Isles, but I have a feeling those glamorous settings probably come with some pretty long and unpredictable hours, right?
Oh, absolutely. Picture this. The sun is setting, casting that perfect golden glow over the water. But instead of enjoying it, you're backstage at the outdoor theater trying to figure out why the microphone keeps cutting out right before the big karaoke finale.
Oh, I can only imagine. Or how about this? You spent days planning an elaborate scavenger hunt for the guests, but it's a million degrees in the shade, and everyone's grumpy and sunburned. It seems like knowing how to deal with difficult people is a big part of the job description when you're in the business of making sure vacationals are happy. Did RoleCatcher have anything to say about dealing with, let's just say, some of the more challenging personalities you might encounter in this line of work?
They definitely did. They actually had a whole section about navigating those tricky customer service situations that pop up, especially when you're talking about tourist animation. Their big takeaway: being flexible and having a good sense of humor can get you through a lot of tough spots. You might need to crack a well-timed joke to diffuse a tense situation or smoothly transition to a different activity if you sense the energy levels dropping. The goal is to create a positive experience for everyone involved.
It's a real balancing act, keeping the energy up, managing expectations, and sometimes maybe even distracting the tone-deaf karaoke king from grabbing the microphone again.
That's one way to put it. But seriously, RoleCatcher makes it clear that this job takes more than just a sunny personality. It's physically demanding, too. Think about it. You're on your feet constantly, running around, setting things up, maybe even demonstrating a dance routine or playing volleyball with the guests.
It's like being a camp counselor, an event planner, and a fitness instructor all rolled into one. So while those brochures might show tourist animators leading a relaxing yoga class on the beach, the reality is probably more like a high-energy sprint fueled by too much coffee and a love for what you do.
That sounds about right. But, amidst all the organized chaos, we can't forget about one of the best parts: the potential for adventure. Don't forget, tourist animators are in demand all over the world. You could find yourself working at a ski resort in Switzerland one season, and then you're off to a beach club in Bali the next.
Okay, now we're talking. That kind of global exposure is a huge perk, especially if you're someone who thrives on new experiences and different cultures. But what's the catch? Is it really all glamorous destinations and Instagram-worthy moments, or is there another side to that coin?
Like anything else, it's a bit of a mixed bag. While the travel opportunities are amazing, RoleCatcher points out that a lot of these jobs are based on temporary contracts or seasonal work. You might get to experience some fantastic places, but it also means constantly adapting to new environments and maybe not having the same level of job security as you'd find in other careers.
It's a trade-off then. Adventure and unique experiences in exchange for maybe a bit less stability. But for someone with a serious case of wanderlust, this could be the perfect fit.
100%. And speaking of adapting to new things, we've got to talk about technology. We've already touched on how AI is changing the hiring process, but RoleCatcher's insights suggest it's having an even bigger impact on what it means to be a tourist animator.
Technology is changing everything these days, so it makes sense that even a career like tourist animation is being impacted. I have to admit, I'm kind of picturing a cruise ship with, like, virtual reality escape rooms and robot bartenders mixing cocktails. But seriously, how does all this tech change a job that's always been so focused on human connection? Are we going to see robots replacing humans on the pool deck soon?
That's the question everyone's asking, and RoleCatcher spends a lot of time on this. It's not really about robots replacing anyone, but more about how everyone in this field can adapt and use this tech to their advantage. Technology is changing the way we experience, well, everything. So why not entertainment and leisure too? Virtual reality could literally transport you to ancient Rome. And then there's augmented reality, right? But you're pointing your phone at your surroundings and getting all this historical information.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So instead of being afraid of these advancements, tourist animators should be learning how to use them to create even better experiences. Did RoleCatcher give any real-world examples of how tech is being used in this field already?
They did. Imagine this. Instead of your typical trivia night, you're leading this high-tech interactive game projected onto a giant screen by the pool. And the game actually adjusts to how much people know so everyone feels included. Or, how cool would it be to take guests on a virtual tour of the local area using VR headsets? They can see historical sites, learn fun facts, all while feeling like they're really there.
Now, that's what I call next-level entertainment. It sounds like the tourist animators of the future are going to need a whole new set of skills. They'll still need that energy, charisma, and ability to connect with people, but now they're also going to need to be pretty tech-savvy.
I know, right? It really highlights how important it is to never stop learning in a job like this. RoleCatcher talks about this a lot, taking online courses, going to industry events, just staying up to date on the latest and greatest in tech, because the future of tourist animation could involve things like designing virtual experiences or even doing some light programming.
It's kind of intimidating when you think about it. It's not just about being the most enthusiastic person in the room anymore. It's about keeping up with the robots, too. But hey, that's why we did this deep dive. We've looked at the challenges, the rewards, the skills you need, and how tech is transforming this whole career. So let's say someone listening is ready to take the plunge. Where do they even start?
Well, RoleCatcher is an amazing resource, honestly. They break down how you can move up in this career, starting with entry-level positions like assistant tourist animator. You'd be learning the ropes, helping out with different activities, getting comfortable talking to all kinds of people. It's like an apprenticeship.
Paying your dues and getting hands-on experience, that's got to be the best way to learn, especially in such a fast-paced, ever-changing job like this. What's the next step up the ladder?
After you've got some experience under your belt, you probably move into a junior tourist animator role. At that point, you're taking on more responsibility, like planning and running activities on your own. You might even be in charge of a small team.
From bingo caller to cruise director, I love it. But what about people who want to be in charge of the whole entertainment program one day? What's the top of the mountain in this career look like?
Those are your senior roles. Things like senior tourist animator, entertainment coordinator, even entertainment manager. These are the folks calling the shots, overseeing teams, managing budgets, coming up with the long-term vision for all the entertainment.
That's a big jump from leading a game of water polo to managing budgets and making long-term plans. What does RoleCatcher say is needed to make that kind of leap?
It takes more than just knowing how to have a good time. They talk a lot about always learning, networking with people, and creating a portfolio that really shows off your skills and experience. Taking those online courses, going to industry events, connecting with other people in the field, it all matters.
Networking is so important. It's one thing to have the know-how, but you got to get yourself out there so people know who you are.
You got it. And that's where having a great portfolio makes a big difference. Think of it like your highlight reel. Photos of successful events you've organized, awesome reviews from happy guests, maybe even some videos of you in action so people can see your energy.
It's like your own personal audition for the world of tourist animation. And speaking of auditions, let's imagine you've landed an interview for your dream job. Your portfolio is ready to go, you've got your best Hawaiian shirt ironed, and you're prepped to impress. What kind of questions should you be ready for? You know, the ones that might throw you off a little.
Ooh, I love a good interview question. RoleCatcher has this whole section on it, and there are some really interesting ones in there. This one stood out to me. How do you handle difficult customers, specifically in the context of tourist animation?
That's a classic. Because the reality is, not everyone is going to be excited about joining the conga line, no matter how much enthusiasm you bring to the table.
Exactly. It's your chance to show them you can handle problems,
Yeah.
that you're patient, and that you can stay positive even when things get a little stressful. Okay, ready for another one. Here's another favorite from RoleCatcher's list. How would you adapt your approach to entertain guests with different interests and energy levels? Say, a group that includes teenagers, couples, and older adults.
That is a good one. It really gets at the core of what makes a tourist animator great, being able to adapt on the fly, understanding your audience, and creating an experience where everyone feels welcome and entertained. I'm guessing RoleCatcher had some strategic advice for tackling that one.
They do. They have this whole section on tailoring your interview answers to the specific job you're going for and what the company's all about. They say to think about who you'd be working with and come up with specific examples of how you'd adjust your approach. Maybe that means planning themed activities or understanding that different age groups might have different energy levels.
It's about proving you've really thought about this specific job and what it takes to be successful, instead of just giving generic answers. It sounds like anyone serious about becoming a tourist animator should check out RoleCatcher.
Honestly, I couldn't agree more. They even have tips on negotiating salaries and understanding contracts, which is so helpful if you're new to this kind of work or thinking about opportunities in other countries.
Well, it sounds like RoleCatcher has thought of everything. We've covered a lot of ground in our deep dive into the world of tourist animators. We talked about everything from the importance of having a plan B when the poolside sound system goes kaput to the rise of AI and how it's changing the game. Any parting words of wisdom for our listeners who are now dreaming of planning games, leading activities, and creating unforgettable vacation experiences for others?
It's a career that's all about combining your creativity and people skills with a willingness to adapt and, of course, a genuine passion for making people happy. It's not always going to be easy, but the rewards can be amazing. If you're someone who loves to travel, experience new things, and spread a little joy wherever you go, this just might be the perfect career for you.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So to all our listeners who are now updating their resumes with professional fun facilitator and practicing their best, let's get this party started. Intonations, we'll leave you with this. As technology keeps changing the world around us, what role will you play in shaping those incredible, memorable experiences for others?
Now, there's a thought-provoking question. And on that note, we'll wrap things up. Happy job hunting, everyone.